Hi guys, and welcome back to the Bubble Nest. I am Shishi, this is episode 5, and this is your checklist. So, this is the 5th episode, and I want to thank you for joining me on this journey, and I hope you've learned something so far. This particular episode is just a little bit of a refresh. You need to kind of check that you have everything in place before you actually introduce your adult fish. As I've said for the previous couple of episodes, I have some pointers, so that's why I keep looking down. I'm kind of cheating, I know, I'm sorry. Here's your checklist. Your breeding tank is set up in the way that we discussed before. Your parent fish have been picked out and selected as well as you possibly can, and also conditioned. Your conditioning of your adult fish is a minimum of 2 weeks of conditioning. You have your live foods prepared and your cultures are going strong and ready to be harvested. Because once the spawning has taken place and those fingerlings have hatched, you do not have time for error. So that's another point that I wanted to make sure that you are absolutely prepared for. Also, a little bit further down, and you'll understand these later on in the series, but there's a list of different medications that you should probably have on hand just in case. Now, prevention is always better than cure, but in the case that you need to cure something, I would absolutely recommend you getting some methylene blue, some malachite green, some general cure, and those are probably the 3 most important things that you need as regards to medicines. Also, obviously, you absolutely need aquarium salt. A fish room is not a fish room without aquarium salt. It's my go-to for everything. There are also some other basic necessities that I feel you should know. And obviously, Indian almond leaves. You absolutely need them, especially for your fry tanks and your spawning tanks, the adult fish. Obviously, your net, your aquarium salt, your turkey baster. You need measuring cups, spoons, syringes, brine shrimp hatchery. Very, very, very important. I hope you have a brine shrimp hatchery. If you do not, you can make a DIY version of it. It's very, very simple. And there is a bunch of different videos out there to explain to you how to use a plastic water bottle and make yourself a baby brine shrimp hatchery. Very, very simple, very, very easy, and cheap. And who doesn't like cheap? I like cheap. And then obviously you're gonna want to make sure that you have your containers for your jarring, extra airline hose, and stones. Airline stones are definitely a good idea for your brine shrimp hatcheries, especially if they're DIY brine shrimp hatcheries, because of the way that they work. I found a lot more success putting an air stone on the end of my DIY brine shrimp hatchery. It's not so aggressive. The bubbles are not so aggressive when they come up and don't toss the brine shrimp quite so harsh. Extra heaters in case of an emergency, and a larger grow out tank. And that's something that's often overlooked, that people think that, oh, they'll be fine in a 10-gallon. You're right. They will be fine in a 10-gallon if you have less than 100 fry. But the very real possibility that your fish will produce 200 or more, remember that that number is not something that is just thrown out. These tiny little fish are capable of producing 800 fry. 800. So I would definitely make sure that you have everything prepared. Hence the reason of Are You Prepared episode. You absolutely need to have these things prepared and ready, and start collecting now. If you can't afford to go out and get 200 jars, for instance, collect a couple of packets a week or every other week, because by the time that these fry are 2.5, 3 months old, you are definitely going to have to jar them. In case something malfunctions, so that you have it on hand, heaters are the #1 killer. For me, heaters are a pain in the butt. But always, always, always have an extra heater on hand, and also an air pump. Especially if you're using a sponge filter, I would definitely recommend sponge filters. And water conditioners. You absolutely need your water conditioners to make sure that your water is the correct parameters when you're doing your water changes on your fry tanks, because obviously your fry are going to need daily water changes. So you're gonna need to get some extra stock of your water conditioner, whichever brand it is that you choose to use. This was just a really short and sweet episode, and it's just kind of a reminder again to be additionally prepared for some other aspects of breeding. By this point, you've already got your adult fish, you've chosen who your parents are going to be, your tank is set up, you should have all of the fundamentals covered, because we already did the are you prepared and this is what could happen kind of episodes. So this is just the wait a minute, double check what you have, make sure you have everything that you need, and even doubles of what you need just in case. I would definitely recommend grabbing a 30-gallon, and it doesn't have to be a fish tank. I will let you know, you don't actually have to use a fish tank. Me personally, I prefer to use a fish tank. So I actually have a 30-gallon tank ready. So once the babies reach about a month and a half, they go into the 30-gallon to continue the grow out. And by about 2.5 months, the feisty ones will start getting picked out. And then by 3 months, everybody will be jarred. That's what I would do. Get yourself a 30-gallon if you can. If you can't afford to get a 30-gallon tank, you can go to, say, the dollar store and get one of those like Rubbermaid totes. You can get one of those from about, a month and a half old, as long as you have a heater big enough to heat the additional volume of water, and a sponge filter that, again, they're going to need to be a little bit bigger than the ones that you would use in your fry tank, because obviously there's a larger volume of water, and as they get bigger they produce more waste. So absolutely make sure that you have that covered. Indian almond leaves are your friend. Aquarium salt are your friend. You're gonna need nets and containers. So remember these things. These are all little things that you need. And I would definitely get a turkey baster, because a turkey baster or some sort of pipette, maybe a bigger one, for the baby brine shrimp. Your brine shrimp net, you absolutely need to get your brine shrimp net. So again, I wish you the best of luck. I thank you for following this far on into episode 5 of the Beta Breeding Breakdown. And keep an eye out, because the next episode is coming out soon. And if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. And again, thank you for joining me, everyone. Have a great day, and the best of luck with your breeding.